Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Secretary.
Good morning, Representative.
Mr. Secretary, you're no stranger to this process. Unlike you, I'm fairly new to this process, and I'm still shocked by some of the critics here today. They have really long memories or they have really short memories. In just 24 months ago, when we were here doing this process, we were faced with job loss, businesses were leaving Pennsylvania, revenues were down, expenses were recklessly out of control and unsustainable. In just 2 years, Mr. Secretary, we went from record deficits to a surplus. In 2 years, we've added 100,000 new jobs to the private sector. As reported by Rachel Morgan in the Beaver County Times, Pennsylvania ranks first in the Northeast region and third in the nation for new corporate facilities in 2012. For the second consecutive year, Pennsylvania ranked third in the nation, most recently with 430 new or improved corporate facilities in 2012. The taxes that we've heard, the burdensome taxes that have been reduced or phased out, yes, that's true. We're fixing our business climate, but as your Revenue Secretary presented to us, corporate taxes are up in Pennsylvania. And part of that, a significant part of the optimistic view of Pennsylvania going forward is the natural gas industry, the policies we've worked on here in Harrisburg, but also the reckless policy in surrounding states. New York has a moratorium. West Virginia has the highest severance tax in the nation, making Pennsylvania even more attractive to this industry. Can you talk about what it means to Pennsylvania's economy now and the optimistic look going forward for our budgets in respect to the natural gas industry?
Yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity. Representative, I think about the cracker facility that the governor's working very hard, and I know you're partnering with him in that. And that, I believe, may be in your district if we're able to land that. But you think of that, a multi-billion-dollar investment in Pennsylvania, and then the tens of thousands of jobs that may be spun off from it, new industries. It really is a potential rebirth here in Pennsylvania of an industrial base that we've unfortunately seen erode over many years. Think about what that's doing to businesses, particularly those that are energy intensive, that they've been able to dramatically cut their bills and put that money back in investing in their workers, investing in new jobs, plant and equipment. I think that this is an incredible opportunity, and I think rather than look at the industry and businesses as some cow that's there to be milked whenever we may need funds in Harrisburg, right, that we're actually doing the right things, that this governor's taking, I think, a long-term vision, not only to grow the economy today, but that we ensure that this industry is a vital component of our economy, of our job base for decades, for generations to come. And I think that that's the course that this governor has set us on, and I think we're beginning to see that unfold here in Pennsylvania.
And part of the success has been that government, labor, and industry have all come together,
yes, sir,
to make this happen. Going forward, I would advocate that there's a fourth leg of the chair that we need to continue to make investments in, and that's our higher education and our basic education. We've talked about the record investments in K through 12. We also made the first increase in the capital line item to community colleges, the first time in 3 years. I would advocate going forward. I think that has to be steps going forward, not just a one-time investment into capital line items for higher education, but I think that has to be the fourth leg of the stool, because we've got to get our workforce trained in these new industries, and they're going to need capital to do it. And I advocate for going forward that we look at those line items and continue to make investments. My final question is about revenue projections. The Independent Fiscal Office, while I appreciate and respect their independence, their revenue projections are a little bit different than yours going forward. We talked about sales tax coming in a little bit below expectations. Can you talk about the revenue projections in your budget and how committed to those you are going forward? I know it's been a few weeks since the governor has introduced his budget. Could you talk about maybe the difference between the IFO's revenue projections and yours going forward? Because that obviously is a huge building block for this budget.
Yeah, I think, and if there's one area that, has given me agita over the past couple of years, it is in the revenue projections. We're in a very volatile economy. I think that's kind of played out in the revenue projections. This year, as I think you know, we're projecting, I should say the Department of Revenue, projecting that we'll end the year $232 million over estimate. We were about 170 or so, I think, around budget day. We've seen some erosion of that. We're around 105 million or so. This month is going to be a very big month with gross receipts tax, and these are numbers that, we watch a great deal. And if there's one point of nervousness that I have going forward when we think about, the tax increases that the federal government imposed at the beginning of the year, sort of the sort of brinksmanship that we have with the sequester and the debt ceiling in D.C., it plays havoc on our economy. People hold back, they don't spend because of the uncertainty. That plays out in our revenue estimates. So right now, I think, we're sticking to our revenue estimate for the end of the year, but I do think we have some potential exposure there, and we're going to be watching that very clearly, and certainly to the extent that we realize fewer revenues than what we're projecting, that's going to make finalizing a budget around enactment a little more difficult than it otherwise would. Certainly, because in the last couple of years, we've had the adverse of that, where we've had more revenues come in than we're projecting, and I think the risk now is to the downside this year.
And just one final point, Mr. Chairman. This is going to be the first full fiscal year going forward where Pennsylvania's tax dollars are online on a database that your office is monitoring and actively being a part of, and that's Penn Watch. And I think the public is excited to know that they no longer have to drive all the way to Harrisburg to find out where we're spending their tax dollars. They can go online. I thank you and the administration for being supportive of that proposal. The previous administration had an opportunity to support something like that, and it didn't get done, and I know it got done within the first 6 months of you being here. I'm thankful for that, and Pennsylvania's thankful that we're completely transparent with the way they spend their tax dollars, and I look forward to that going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.